Welcome to the Scripted channel. Today we continue our AI survival guide for coders. As you may remember from the previous video, from the part 1, coding is about to become a non-human profession.
Today, about 10 million people are gainfully employed because we know how to program computers, which leaves the other 8 billion behind. That's not true in the future.
It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program.
AI is quickly making us, human coders, human programmers, irrelevant. So this video, this guide has one goal: to find our path to survival. But first, let's refresh our takeaways from the part 1. As you remember, we were talking about how value was distributed between providers of labor and providers of capital. And basically how that pizza was split. Why does that matter? Because we, coders, we are providers of labor. So if in 1984 half of the pizza went to workers, now it is less than 1/3. The whole system is designed to transfer wealth from providers of labor to the providers of capital. This is not a bug, this is a feature. It's a part of the system design. This is our lesson number 1. Labor providers are paid much less than providers of capital. And now let's take a look how much coders are being paid. Now we have everything we need to dive into part 2, the web gold rush. Here's a guy cruising in his new car on the streets of Silicon Valley. He's a junior coder at a big tech firm. He just got a bonus. And this fellow, this is a senior coder. Do you know what you had to say to the nightclub bouncer if you wanted to get in and cut that long line? It is the same thing that you had to say to that beautiful girl if you wanted her attention, if you wanted to impress her. One simple sentence, a universal password, just 5 words. Here they are. I am a big tech coder. Junior coders going to the top tier big tech firms straight from the uni can expect receiving up to $200,000 in total compensation. This looks not too bad comparing to the average American salary, well, technically median US salary of just $55,000. Lucky graduates. Well, of course, we have to keep in mind that here we're talking about the graduates from universities like MIT and Stanford. And we also have to keep in mind that usually these guys, they have quite a hefty loan attached to them. But still, not everybody straight from the uni can say that they are earning 4 times more than average American. So it's very impressive. But this is just the beginning. Wait until you hear how much our senior coder is making. Yeah, this guy. That's his pool, by the way. Senior, the top caliber software developers with in-demand stack, they routinely bring home up to $500,000 a year. $500,000. This is 5 kilos of cash in $100 bills. Not every drug dealer makes that kind of money. Do you remember that pizza from the previous video? Remember what providers of labor were getting in it? Right, almost nothing. Just like 1/3 of pizza or something like that, even less than that. And here's how much we, coders, how much we are making, how much we are getting. So one thing is clear, fellow coders. Somehow we snatched an enormous, a big, fat slice of pizza. But how did that happen? There must be a story behind this. Remember our excavator? The machine? Here, while we were chatting about fat pizza slices and measuring money in kilos, the machine was not wasting time. It was evolving until it evolved into this. This is the world's first website. This is a machine that enabled instantaneous transfer of information between any 2 points on this planet. In other words, Internet. The largest machine built by humans. It started as a defense system. Then in 1980s, it was picked up by academia, by universities who used it to transfer information between research centers. And then in early 1990s, when computers became cheap enough for regular people to have them at home, that's when internet started to spread its tentacles everywhere. And very quickly, it turned out that the ability to transfer information from point A to point B and do that instantly, it completely changes the way how people do business. Entire industries were disrupted. Previously, if you wanted to transfer information, you had to give a call or send a letter or even go in person. But now, information traveled with the speed of light, literally. Previously, if we needed to buy something, say shoes, the only way the retail store would know about it is if we go to the store in person and tell them. And now what you have to do is just to go on Amazon and click the button. That's it. Another example is taxi. In the past, how could a driver know where and when you need a ride? Now it's super simple. Just you Uber it. It's another click. And finally, the ultimate case, the supermarket of information, where you can get anything, well, almost anything, for just watching the ad. By the way, do you know how much Google makes selling ads? Here's how much, I will tell you. $230 billion per year, which is roughly equivalent to the GDP of countries like New Zealand or Greece. This is the scale, the magnitude of that change that the internet, the machine, has created. Ability to transfer information instantaneously turned out to be a superpower. Soon the whole world got covered. You are either online or you do not exist. Many learned this lesson the hard way. Retailers, for example. Countless old-style mom-and-pop shops disappeared overnight. Even now, a decade later, we still can see the rows and rows of empty street stores like tombstones to what once was brick-and-mortar retail, thriving shops, employing millions and millions of tellers and cashiers. Now they're all gone. Tens of millions of retail people across the world have lost their jobs. The internet spider took no prisoners. You are either online or you do not exist. But this machine could not have created itself. It needed people. It needed people who would be connecting the points A to points B in this web. And they were doing this using APIs, application programming interfaces. And these APIs were like a spider silk connecting dots in the web. And the people making the APIs, making these connections, they were called back-end developers. They were the backbone of the web development. Another group of coders was building user interfaces. You can think of them as some sort of screens, screens through which information, the data, was received and harvested. And these coders, they could spend days and weeks designing just one button, the button that would have a higher probability that you, the user, you would click on it. So these coders, they were called front-end developers. And another big group of programmers, they were building the storages where all this information was stored. And these guys usually called, let's call them database managers. And they were coming in all sorts of types and flavors. In addition, all these people weaving the web, they were surrounded by layers and layers of additional professions, like supporting adjacent professions that were supporting the web development. For example, project and product managers, cloud architects, Q&A testers, designers, and the list goes on and on and on. And here's where an interesting thing happened. These new professions, they jumped out of nowhere, literally overnight. Before 1990s, coding was like a hobby, an occupation for enthusiasts, for weirdos, for nerdy guys, the fighters of the keyboard and the mouse, hiding in the periphery of the human society. And then, starting from roughly early 2000s, suddenly the machine wanted millions, tens of millions of people with this type of skills. Jensen Huang tells us that there are roughly 10 million coders who are gainfully employed, whatever that means. If we ask the same question to LinkedIn, LinkedIn will tell us that there are 26 million people globally who identify themselves as software developers. So we can see that the range of estimates of how many coders are out there is quite wild. For example, the Palo Alto Networks, they just recently came up with an estimate that there are more than 38 million people who are developing software on the cloud. So again, the range is very wild. But if you ask my opinion, like how many coders are out there, I would say, here's the approach I would suggest. If we take all these professions, adjacent supporting professions like cloud architects, database management, project managers, if we add them all together, we will have at the very least 50 million people whom we can all kind of call tech people, or people who build the internet. These are the builders of the machine, 50 million of them. And here's the most interesting question. How easy you think it was to suddenly find 50 million people with skills that just a few years ago did not exist? Starting from the early 2000s, that has created a tremendous shortage of coders. We coders, we had become a bottleneck of the internet. Scarcity creates pressure. And this is how we started seeing offers of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 per year. This is how we plunged into the life of luxury, the world of the web gold rush. By the way, do you remember that time when you sometimes could overhear a conversation when somebody was saying like, hey, I'm not an IT guy. And they often were saying this as if they were offended. And they, most of the time, these were finance people. They're like, hey, how could you think that I am an IT guy, right? So where these finance people are now? Exactly. This is a web gold rush. The world where we coders have suddenly become an elite class. This is how we got an enormous slice of... Ho, wait a second. What's this? Who is this guy? Do you see right there at the top? Oh, I think I know who he is. He's one of those, how do they call them? Oh, a scientist. Here's the thing. To build the machine, it was not enough just to have labor and capital. No. You also needed to know how to build it. You needed knowledge. In other words, intelligence. So it turns out that there are not just providers of labor and capital, but also of intelligence. So that's a third fundamental productive force. It's like the world is standing on the three elephants, or whales, whichever theory suits you better. So in the same way, the humankind stands on three fundamental productive forces: labor, capital, and intelligence. So we've got workers, capitalists, and scientists. But don't worry. Do you know how much these scientists are being paid? So here's the average salary of a senior coder. And here's the average salary of a banker. And here, this is the average salary of a scientist, a provider of intelligence. So no need to worry. The scientists, they're not going to take a pizza. You know why? Let me tell you why. Because nobody cared about intelligence. Until now. Intelligence, and more specifically AI jihad, is something that we will be talking about in part 3. And part 3 will be here next Friday, so don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, if you like AI and coding and you enjoy good company, then just go and find our Discord link below and join us. See you on the other side.